Have you ever, really looked at a pencil? I mean, it seems so simple, right? So basic. But what if I told you that hiding inside this everyday object is an incredible story of empires, innovation, and even war? Well, let's sharpen our focus and uncover a history that is anything but simple.
I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, doesn't it? A storm, some sheep, a major global conflict? I mean, what in the world could they possibly have in common? Well, the answer might be sitting in your desk drawer right now.
Yep, all of those things were crucial ingredients in the history of the humble pencil. This unassuming little tool we all have lying around is the product of pure chance, some very clever problem solving, and huge historical events.
You know, the desire to make a mark on the world is as old as humanity itself. I mean, from charcoal on cave walls to a metal stylus on Roman wax tablets, we've always been looking for better ways to write things down. But the real story of the pencil as we know it, well, that begins with a complete and total accident.
Okay, let's go back in time. We're in the 1500s, in a place called Borrowdale, England. And the story goes that this massive storm just ripped through the area, and it was so powerful it toppled a giant oak tree. When the locals went to check out the damage, they found something totally unexpected, tangled up in its roots.
It was this, a huge underground deposit of a strange, black, shiny mineral. Nobody had ever seen anything quite like it. It was incredibly pure and solid. At first, local shepherds found a really practical use for it, marking their sheep. But what was this stuff? Well, you gotta remember, chemistry was still in its early days. So they made their best guess. Because it looked so much like lead, they called it plumbago, which is just Latin for lead ore. Now, this was an honest mistake, but it's one that would cause confusion for centuries.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. Let's just clear this up once and for all. Pencil lead is not and has never been made of the toxic metal lead. It's graphite, a totally harmless form of carbon. In fact, it's the very same element that makes up diamonds. The name lead pencil is just a historical mistake that kind of stuck.
So people figured out pretty quickly that this graphite stuff was amazing for writing, but it had a couple of big problems. For one, it was really brittle, and two, it got your hands incredibly dirty. The first solutions were pretty basic. They just wrapped the graphite sticks in string or little pieces of sheepskin to make a sort of holder.
But then, around 1560, an Italian couple named Lindiana and Simeonio Bernacati had this brilliant idea. They took a stick of juniper wood, hollowed it out, and then just slid a stick of graphite right inside. And just like that, boom, the very first wood-cased pencil was born. This was a total game changer.
The world caught on fast. This English graphite was so pure and so valuable, it became a strategic resource. I mean, they were even using it to line molds for cannonballs. The British Crown actually seized control of the Borrowdale mine, and they went so far as to flood it when it wasn't in use, just to stop smugglers. For a long, long time, Britain had a complete global monopoly on the world's best writing tool.
And that monopoly held strong until, you guessed it, war changed everything. In 1793, during the Napoleonic Wars, France suddenly found itself cut off from its supply of those superior British pencils. All of a sudden, a simple writing tool became a matter of national importance. And necessity, as they always say, is the mother of invention.
So the French military turned to this guy, Nicholas Jacques Conté. He was an officer and a brilliant chemist, and he was given a critical mission: figure out how to make high-quality pencils without any access to England's pure solid graphite.
Conté's solution was absolutely genius. Instead of needing that rare, pure graphite, he took low-quality graphite powder and mixed it with clay and water. He then pressed this paste into sticks and fired them in a kiln, kind of like pottery. This process didn't just work, it completely shattered the British monopoly. Forever.
But wait, there's more! Conté also made another huge discovery. By changing the ratio of graphite to clay, he could control exactly how hard or soft the pencil core was. More clay meant a harder, lighter point. Less clay meant a softer, darker one. And that right there is the origin of the H and B grading system we still use on pencils today. H for hard and B for black.
Conté's method basically unlocked the door for true mass production, and the Industrial Revolution in America just took it to a whole new level. By 1872, companies like the Joseph Dixon Crucible Company were churning out an unbelievable 86,000 pencils every single day.
And how did they do it? They perfected what's known as the sandwich method. You lay the graphite leads into a grooved piece of cedar, glue an identical piece right on top, and then the whole block is just sliced into individual pencils. It's this brilliantly efficient process that, believe it or not, is still the standard for how we make pencils today.
So we've got the pencil, but what about when you mess up? Well, before we had the modern eraser, people used something you might have in your kitchen right now. They used, get this, balled up moist breadcrumbs. Not exactly efficient, I'm sure, but for a long time, it was the best they had.
The final piece of the modern pencil puzzle fell into place in 1858. A man from Philadelphia named Hyman Lipman had the clever idea to attach a little piece piece of rubber to the end of the pencil. He patented it, and while that patent was later invalidated, the idea itself was just so good, so convenient, it became a permanent feature.
But the story doesn't quite end there. Let's dig into a couple of surprising little details that add even more color to the pencil's already rich history.
Ever wondered why so many pencils are that classic yellow color? Well, back in the late 1800s, a company called Koh-i-Noor wanted to make a super premium luxury pencil. They used the best graphite they could find, which at the time was coming from China. And to signal this top-notch quality, they painted the pencil yellow, a color associated with royalty and respect in Chinese culture. It became so popular that other companies started copying the color to make their pencils seem high quality too.
And here's a great one for all you book lovers out there. The famous American writer and philosopher Henry David Thoreau, the guy who wrote Walden, was also an expert pencil maker. His family was in the business, and Thoreau himself actually developed a new formula to produce harder, darker, and less smeary graphite, making his family's pencils the best in America at the time. Who knew? So let's just recap this wild journey, right? It all starts with a chance discovery in the 1500s. It gets its wooden body in the 1560s. It gets totally reinvented by war and chemistry in the 1790s. It gets its eraser in the 1850s, and then finally becomes a tool for absolutely everyone in the 1870s.
So the next time you pick up a pencil, just take a second to really look at it. You're not just holding a piece of wood and graphite. You're holding centuries of history, a story of happy accidents and wartime innovation, a small miracle of design that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
So what part of this story really surprised you the most? Was it the accidental discovery, the wartime invention, or maybe the fact that people used to use breadcrumbs as erasers? Let me know down in the comments. And if you love uncovering these kinds of extraordinary stories behind ordinary things, definitely make sure you subscribe for our next explainer. It really makes you wonder, what other secrets are hiding on our desks?